It's less. The recording is in progress. Go right ahead. The floor is yours.
Yes, my name is Phil Fixico. I am a Seminole Maroon descendant and activist. Uh, I am, to the people of America who see me, I'm just another flavor of Black. But I'm sure that what we're going to do and say and talk about here will help change that. This morning, I will start off with my connection to the Buffalo Soldiers, since this is a Buffalo Soldier Day. And the best way I can do that is just to give you my traditional Juneteenth statement. I shall begin. It's a 4-minute statement. The holiday known as Juneteenth is not celebrated by the Black Seminoles of Brackettville, Texas, in the classic sense. When President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, the Black Seminoles were already free. They had won their freedom 25 years earlier through direct combat with US forces during the Second Seminole War, one of the Negro Wars they didn't teach you about in your history book. In 1837, the terms of their freedom were negotiated at Fort Dade, Florida. A little over 500 formerly enslaved people were allowed to go free if they stopped fighting and immigrated to Oklahoma Indian Territory with their Indian allies. This agreement was entitled the Articles of Capitulation, or popularly known as Jessup's Proclamation, named after Major General Thomas Sidney Jessup. It was just like the Lincoln's Proclamation, a battlefield legislation done under war powers. In 1849, due to pressure from the US slaveocracy, America passed the Fugitive Slave Act, permitting slave owners to pursue their former slaves even into Indian Territory. That same year, a contingent of Black Seminoles left the United States, entering into Mexico in 1850, where they were welcomed con los brazos abiertos, with open arms. Mexico needed border guards, and they were glad to have these veteran guerrilla fighters on their side of the border. After the Civil War had ended and slavery was abolished in the US, the Black Seminoles returned. One of our most important dates was July 4th, 1870. On that day, we chose America as immigrants and splashed back across the Rio Grande to become the special forces for the Buffalo Soldiers in a unit known as the Seminole Negro Indian Scouts. That unit won 4 Congressional Medals of Honor in defense of their country, the United States of America. So that is my 4-minute statement. I'll hold off now and I'll return uh, to make to give more input. And if someone has a question that they would like to ask, or if now is appropriate, Trooper Williams, how should we do that? You want to
Yes,
move on?
yes. I'd like to open the floor and ask any of our audience if they have any commentary or questions for Phil. Now's that time to unmute and ask your question.
This is Ann Yanu. I don't have any questions, but thank you so much for that presentation. Very enlightening history that I was not aware of.
And you're welcome. And so actually, to just comment, the first Emancipation Proclamation was Jessup's proclamation. You see, down in Florida, they were having the Negro Wars, as reported by the military. A general was saying, you sent me to fight Indians, but I'm fighting a bunch of Indians. And so they kept that quiet. And so in 1836, John Quincy Adams, there was a debate because there in Congress, the pro-slavery faction was strong enough to enact the 1835 gag rule, which for 9 years, no one on the congressional floor could mention the word slavery. One of the reasons is because they were fighting the Negro Wars in Florida. They were indigenous or Seminole Indians and those blacks who were in alliance with the troops, with the Seminoles. And so the original Emancipation Proclamation that happened in 1837, or that was given by Lincoln, was based on the 1836 writings of John Quincy Adams, who said, "A slave may free himself through war." This meant it would be battlefield legislation under a War Powers Act. And that's what they did for my ancestors. And that's how my ancestors got to Oklahoma. And it was the first Emancipation Proclamation. There were Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation and a couple of more DC proclamations, but this is what they didn't put in the history books. And I'm a living, breathing embodiment of those, direct descendant of those people that happened to.
Can you share your information in the chat?
Sure, because I have 352 blogs, because as I said before, I'm Phil Fixico on Facebook. As I said before, my identity was stolen and I didn't find out who I was until I was 52 years old. And once I found out, I discovered that it was an important history and I was one of the would-be 4 heirs and to it, but I was the only one who was interested in saving it. And I really dedicated my life to it and was able to get the history in the Smithsonian Institution's show and exhibit Indivisible African Native American Lives in the America. I've been to the United Nations. I was brought to South America to the Okanisi and the Yucca Maroons, and I became their representative, Maroon representative to the United States. That's how I went to the UN, and I will share my information with you.
Thank you so much.
I want to say thank you, Philip, for sharing that information. Because I was just privy to that a couple months ago by one of my partners that I work with here in Rochester, and that is very intriguing to know that we have living history working with us on this project, because that story, like you said, it needs to be told in American history, and we need to include that as a part of the reparations. We're going back to 1865 in the reparations conversation, but I think that information should be introduced as a part of the study and conversation to reparations. So I'm very grateful for that information and knowledge.
And Aaron, if you could, for our audience, please say your name, please. And for any of our other speakers, please understand we have an audience that does not know who we are. Oh, by the way, I'm Andrew Williams Jr. So if you could, Aaron, say your name. And again, if you have the opportunity now and access to a computer, I'd like for you to do your introduction and your background and what brings you here. But I'll leave that ball up to your court, Aaron. So please go right ahead.
Yeah, I'm still setting up my computer because I do want to screen share some documents, and so if you just give me a few to set that up.
Okay, just raise your hand and let me know when you're ready. In the meantime, Elder, if you'd be so kind, we normally begin with prayer. So if you could be so kind, Elder, Prophet, could you open us up with prayer, please?
Okay, let's take a moment. Our Father, our Mother, our everything, God, we come before your presence with our own diverse knowledge and understanding of who you are, not only to ourselves, but our community and the world. And based on our experiences and our connection with you, we move forward to do this work, to bring restoration, to bring renewal, to redeem time that was lost over the centuries and over the ages. We thank you for each and every one that comes together to honor the Buffalo Soldiers today, their work, the history, our ancestors, and what they've done, and their shoulders that are strong for us to stand upon. We pray your protection over each and every one of us. We pray that you allow your healing power to flow through each and every one. We have a lot of elders involved in this work. We've worked for very long years and decades to bring forth what is happening now. We ask you to strengthen them in mind, body, and spirit, every tissue, every organ, every fiber of their being. We thank you for the young people who are coming forth with strong bodies and energy and vision and creativity. Strengthen them as well. Allow their hearts and minds to be open to the wisdom of the ages as they go forth and march into this battle for the very next generation to strengthen this foundation. We ask for your wisdom to flow today for each and every one of us to be clear about what our calling is, reveal to us what our missions are, and give us the strength to do the work. We ask all of this in the holy name by all the names that you are known. And I say thank you in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so very much. And let me, I guess, show my own video here. I'm Andrew Williams Jr. I'm pleased to be your host today. This is being sponsored by the EdFu Foundation, edfufoundation.org. Today is July the 28th of 2021. We're celebrating today. I'm sorry. We're celebrating today Buffalo Soldiers Day, and in that regard, I'm here in Los Angeles, California, the home of the Tongva people. So thank you so much for joining us. John T. Moss, please introduce yourself if you'd be so kind.
Good morning, everybody. This is John T. Moss. I'm from the Caddo Indian Nation, and I've been working with Friends of the African Union honorably since May. Well, the main thing was on May 20th of 2016 when we spoke at the United Nations with Queen Mother being there and helping with that. And Aaron, you were there too. And so in that, we started to be presence of the Indigenous Peoples Plan, Black Folks Plan, and we presented that again at the United Nations, again with the help of Queen Mother Blakely on April 29th. And you can find that what we presented, it's about 162 pages on our nonprofit website, which I put in the chat, Cash Community Development. So my grandfather, Michael Martin, Chief Silvermoon, was the last recognized traditional chief of the Caddo Indian Nation, world-renowned self-taught Indian artist, oil and velvet, and one of the first Native Americans or the first Native American to get a reoccurring role in the silent film days. And so with that, I have just been working towards carrying on the family goal of helping our Indigenous people, African people, Black people, etc., worldwide. And I'm also the president of the Southwest Chapter Native American Indian Chamber of Commerce. And my main background business is I'm a world-renowned sales trainer And I wrote a book called The Millionaire Loan Officer, where I'm the only mortgage real estate housing specialist, if you will, that the top banking associations in the United States signed off on my 32-year system of being proven ethical and non-predatory lending, which there's a letter on my website showing that. Again, everything I do, I back up in documentation. In today's world, it's important, especially being Native American. We've learned, you know, even with treaties, things are broken or not kept. So I just like to put it all out there. So myself, that's in a nutshell what my background is, and anything I could ever help with, I'm here to help.
Okay, John, thank you so much. You came in a bit late, so I put back in the chat the link now that we're actually streaming on Facebook. So if you could all be able to assist me and also go there and put your comments in. It's a bit challenging for me to do both, but if you could assist me, I would certainly appreciate that. That way the Facebook audience can also be able to engage with you directly. I do have a recorded intro from Queen Mother Blakely. Thank you so much for bringing her up, John. I'm going to attempt to share my screen and share the video, but again, bear with me as we're dealing with internet challenges. So hold on just a moment. Recording in progress.
On such a day, as I look back and had the honor of meeting hundreds of men and women that believe and live out the dreams and hopes and aspirations of Buffalo soldiers. In Tulsa, this year at the 100th anniversary, the massacre of our ancestors on Black Wall Street, in a place that is holy and sacred, the people of resilience, and witness the Buffalo soldiers in arms and salute of our living, the survivors of our ancestors in Tulsa. What a wonderful moment for me to watch them on their motorbikes from all over the United States of America, riding and locking forces in one accord. What a force to be reckoned with. And for me to have witnessed it in Oklahoma, that life force to this day, 2021, watching hundreds of riders perform for us their nobility of strength and their nobility of righteousness and their nobility of oneness on display for the world to see. I could only dream of and picture in the sand dunes of Senegal, they are coming to Goree Island and riding into Africa on their motorbikes of all styles and color to have witnessed this parade of the Buffalo Soldiers. What a day it was. And had the honor of speaking to their mannerisms and to their hearts as I listened to them tell short stories of their rides. What a history. As the Queen Mother, I could vision them, as I said, return to Africa with your life force for all to see in the village and in the sand dunes of the Pink Lake, you riding like you never rode before. Riders, horses, now you're riding motorcycles from all over the United States with the station consciousness of oneness. As the Queen Mother, chiming with the noise as they roll with their motorbikes, I say to us, what an honor to have witnessed this day. Black Wall Street, which I will never forget, the noise that I just heard now. They give you the sound that I heard on this day of them riding through the streets of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Queen Mother represents 55 million displaced Africans of the transatlantic ocean of the slave trade, and call on all of our family to return to the soil of Mother Africa. Return home for the healing, the transformation, and the roaring of the sound and the voice and the noise and the bells and the motorcycles speeding through the streets of Africa as a background noise, as I bring to you of hearing them with the music and the sound of drums and with all of the instruments of life, of bringing us home to the soil of the tradition and the culture and our DNA as African people. Long live our divine family. Long live Buffalo Soldiers, the riders of horses, and the dreams of a nation and the strength of a people. Queen Mother yield her voice, going on 80 years old, to the wind of the motorbikers and the horses, in the wind of a people. Ride for us, ride for us, ride for us. Queen Mother, yield her voice back to our people.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to get that message from Queen Mother Dolores Blakely. So Phil Fixico, you asked for 2 minutes. Did you want to continue now, or would you like me to proceed?
Well, yeah, proceed for a little bit longer. I'm looking for something.
All right, no worries. In the meantime, I'll indulge you, if I could, once again, to refer back to Queen Mother, because she also spoke on her own journey. Back in 1999, she had the opportunity to take a journey to commemorate all of the lost ancestors through the Middle Passage. Let me share that with you just a moment. Well, as you know, technologies only works when it works. So in the meantime, Ava Bates, if you could please introduce yourself, that will give me a moment to gather my efforts. So Ava, could you unmute and introduce yourself and your family, please? Unfortunately, I can't see all the participants. So if Ms. Bates is not here, if there's anyone that has not introduced themselves, could you please unmute and introduce yourself at this time? Thank you. Looks like that might be you, Mr. Samuel Baldwin. Okay, then if not, then please bear with me while I just get these technical difficulties straightened out. I'll be right back. Well, thank you so much for again bearing with me through technical challenges. Elder Prophet, I know that you've done this on more than one occasion, but could you please be so kind as to take this moment to give us your introduction of who you are and your background, and also the relevance of the 400th African American Commission. Elder, if you could be so kind to assist me in this transition.
Okay, this is Elder Prophet Anyanwu Cox. I am I've worked in mental health and psychiatric nursing for over 30 years. I am, I guess in terms of what I've done, I'm so impressed with everybody on here. Sometimes I hesitate to share, but I'm basically an activist, advocate. And if I have one gift, it would be running my mouth. So if I have a cause that that really captures my heart and passion, then I put everything into it. So I've done community activism, and because I'm also a adoptive parent of someone with special needs, and that they thought would only last about a year because they thought the individual would not live to see their first birthday. They're now 34. So I'm going to put my headphones on really quick. So that was a part of course, a lot of advocacy and a lot of hard work with activism because of the system. I really have passion for parents as well who are dealing with some of the issues. I've done a lot of community health education. I received a 2-year fellowship to go to African American Institute in California to study HIV and other communicable diseases. So I've done quite a bit of work with that. I do holistic. I've traveled actually many places to actually do holistic work. I call it holistic because it's mind, body, and spirit. I found that there's some things that require hands-on, some things require nutraceuticals or herbs, and some things just simply requires, not simply, not really so simply, a changing of our minds, of our hearts. And I've actually seen people heal just through forgiving and getting rid of bitterness and resentment, realizing that when we hold those things, we hold ourselves hostage, not the person we have them for. So that's really my passion. I'm also one of 15 members of the 400 Years of African American History Commission. It was passed into law under Public Law 115-102 in January 2018. And there are two of us on there there are two women, both of us last name Cox, no relation, both of us in Wichita. So interesting. And so the 400 Commission was put in place through the advocacy and work of Congressman Bobby Scott, Senator Tim Kaine, and Mark Warner. Tim Kaine in particular had been aware of and perhaps a part of other commissions to commemorate the history in other communities, and so decided that it would be beneficial to have this. So what the commission does, the first year we were kind of up against it because we had no resources to work with, but we still were able to get some work done in our communities. We were extended for 1 year into 2021, and now we've been extended to 2022. We now have funding. We've been able to give out grants to not-for-profits, not a lot. We have 3.3 million, but able to assist not-for-profits that were doing work around history, culture, education, those kinds of things. And even some, the Association of Black Psychologists who do great work, have great scholarship around mental health and the impact that the my-alpha, the trauma of, the Middle Passage and everything that's happened, Jim Crow that's happened since then, how it's impacted us psychologically and emotionally. And we found that, again, that affects our physical being, also dealing with issues like social justice and the over-criminalizing of African-American boys and young women now. And so all these areas have been addressed at one level or another, and at one point or another within the commission. It's been a really great experience. And then the 100 years commemoration in Tulsa, one of our commissioners lives in Tulsa and was at the head of that. We have one that's heads, Lonnie Scott, who was, not Lonnie Scott, but Lonnie Bunch, head of the, I had been head of the Smithsonian African American Museum, and now is the first African American to be secretary of Smithsonian. Mr. Ron Carson, who has worked extensively with Black lung issues and helping. So I know I'm kind of going on and on, but just a little bit about that. I'm also an student elder with the Wichita Council of Elders and also the National Black Council of Elders and some other organizations. So that's sort of a general overview. I got long-winded, I'm sorry.
Well, just know that everything happens the way it's supposed to. That gave me just enough time to make a transition. Abram, give yourself another few minutes. I'm going to share with you another sharing by Queen Mother. You brought up the Ma'afa. For those of you who may not know, that's referred to as our Holocaust, and that was during our Middle Passage. And Queen Mother, as I mentioned to you earlier, she made a historic trip back in 1999 to honor those ancestors. So I'm going to share my screen first with this commemoration of the Middle Passage Monument. Now, there was, in fact, a Middle Passage Monument dropped on the ocean floor. Queen Mother made that journey. But the people of Bermuda sponsored the Millennium Arch Project. So this is a replica that is sitting on the federal grounds in St. Croix, Virgin Islands. It represents a symbol of remembrance and hope for all those who are innocent, for all those who were lost, for all those who were hurt, for all those who were left behind, but for all those who are not forgotten and will never be forgotten. So Queen Mother Blakely made this trip out into 427 kilometers out into the ocean floor to commemorate those 427 skeletons that were found beneath Wall Street. Senator Dwayne James from St. Croix gathered the world's leaders to make this the first commemoration of the Middle Passage back in 1999. Queen Mother was on that journey, and I'm going to share with you her remembrance of that. Make sure you can hear the sound. Yes, okay, very well. Here we go. The recording is in progress.
The journey of my ancestors, it was one of the most difficult journeys of my life, which I didn't supposed to be on the journey. It seems that sometime the ancestors, with the permission of the God force within them, carry me on journeys. The journey to the slave house in Ghana in 1994, in the Cape Coast castles, but I say the Cape Coast dungeons, which I was snatched and remain in Ghana and in the Cape Coast in particular, thanks to Nana Rollins, Mrs. Rollins, the president's wife, Jerry Rollins. Nana Rollins listened to me when I went to her in tears. Why was I snatched and I could not travel on to South Africa to have witnessed Nelson Mandela inauguration? I had met Nelson Mandela and Winnie Mandela in a place called Namibia, Southern Africa, from one of my babas. Now he is an ancestor, Kenneth Kaunda of Zambia. And on his aircraft with Queen Mother Audley Moore, we traveled to Namibia for their first independence, where Nelson Mandela and the other leaders of South Africa had gathered for the independence with Sam Nujoma, the first president of Namibia. Being on the aircraft as my second Baba, Kenneth Kaunda, we called him KK. Now he's an ancestor. Mzee Julius Nyerere, the first president of Tanzania, my Baba, my first Baba that I studied as a Fulbright scholar, ethnographic research at Columbia University, and the journey started at Harvard University as a Fulbright scholar to study African traditional socialism. And in the spirit and in the work of Mwalimu Julius Nyerere of Tanzania, my first African Baba, who mentored me on the ways of Mother Africa. And with Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, as he stepped down from power, I spent a year, 84 to 85, in East Africa studying his ways through the spirit of Julius Nyerere as a philosopher, as a head of state, a policy maker, and with a land-based implementation of his aspiration, self-reliance, do for ourselves, was his philosophy to a nation. Pull as one, Swahili, one language, Kiswahili. One aim, build a nation. Bond as one. Julius Nyerere, consciousness. African traditional socialism, which I was taught and mentored by him, which I spent 1 year with him. To make a long story short, work had been done with me in Southern Africa and East Africa. As a Fulbrighter, also to West Africa, Nigeria, which I was born October 1 on the independence of Nigeria. Names given to me, Ife, the goddess of love, named by the two nations, Nai Wang Molel in East Africa, Tanzania in particular, Nigeria, Ife, the goddess of love, named. At the United Nations, West and East embrace me as a daughter of Mother Africa. And going deeper into a place, Ghana, and being snatched in Ghana, in the Cape Coast Castle, which is the dungeons. And from there, the Spirit guided me into the deep sea, in the international waters, to lay a monument in honor of my ancestors. It was not destined by man to include me or to engage me in Harlem of this boat left from the East River, where I am and where I live, and been familiar with this place for 60 years, going on now 62 years. 10 years as a Roman Catholic nun in Walimu Julius Nyerere. We must beatify him in the Roman Catholic Church. He was a staunch and devoted Catholic. For me to have been his daughter, and for him to have adored a woman by the name of Mother Teresa of Calcutta, and the same reverence and love and respect as my Baba, as my African father. Yes, he gave me the whisper jet too, and allowed me to complete my doctorate on his work, on his legacy, and presented the body of my work to him. Self-reliance education, self-sufficient, self-help. How would we, African descendants, keep our claim to Mother Africa without a land base? How would we do that? Through Kwanzaa, a celebration that a brother used his middle name, as I studied Mwalimu Julius Nyerere. Karenga was his middle name. Dr. Karenga took up Kwanzaa, the principles of Tanzania, Kiswahili, or Swahili, coming from Zanzibar, the language of a people now called Tanzania, two countries as one. What a rich history. And in the 90s, how Queen Mother was engaged and involved in a very, very special way. And in the 90s, being a part of the slave replica in the deep sea, being a part of a journey where the slave master gave me permission to join the boat. And on the boat, I spoke little to anyone because my role was to fast and pray at the bottom of the boat of the slave master who welcomed me on the boat. When the slave children said no to me, the slave master said yes to me, the replica that went out into the deep sea. I can only reflect, and I'm still writing about that journey of laying a monument to our ancestors in the deep waters, in the international waters, and in the deep waters to our ancestors, laid this monument to our ancestors, which I believe that they are pleased with our journey today of the Ark of Return at the United Nations to begin that journey of healing, transformation, tradition, the DNA, the culture, the education, the business, are relocating on the continent of Mother Africa, finding where we belongs or want to be. Of the ark are returning to the soil of Mother Africa through the gateway of Goree Island. Queen Mother was a part of a journey unknown to myself, but a journey is a mystery to me to this day. The mystery lives on in the international waters, and laying a monument to our ancestors in 1999, unknown to me to be in the slave house and snatched in Ghana, unknown to me to be at the shores with Mama Kinte, naming me Fatimatu Kinte in Jufri in a place called the Gambia, unknown to me to end up on the shores of Goree, Mama Africa to Tuba, Mama Africa, up on the mountain, looking at the sea, looking at the ships. And as Amadou Bamba, my grandfather, his son, laid eyes on me in a holy place, a Black holy place called Tuba. You are my daughter. The seed of a father brought tears to my eyes. Sheikh Salu Mbake, the spiritual one, the holy one, the great one, the Black soul spiritual energy of a people, Tuba. Amadou Bamba, who stated and who said in the wilderness, thrown in by the French, colonizing, and could never colonize him. And in the sea, when they captured him, he said one day in his writing, we will return. The children will return to the shores of Africa. We will return, and we are turning. And when he asked the French, could he pray as a Muslim? And they told Amadou Bamba, you cannot pray, no. And when they all looked into the sea, on his rug, he said, Allahu Akbar, God is the greatest. And he kept praying on his rug. The spirit energy, the spiritual one that God placed before us in Blackness, dark skin, Blackness of Mother Africa, Amadou Bamba. There was a preparation for the journey of laying the monument to our ancestors in the spirit of millions of our ancestors. In 1999, what a journey. What a preparation. What a readiness for Barack Obama to end up in a place. A woman with a cause written by Black enterprise in Washington, D.C. on the day of his inauguration. A woman with a cause talk about the experiences and Black enterprise of him going to Ghana at the slave house, which I was in the royal court on his arrival, unknown to me that I would have been there. And to be in the energy of him going to a place called Goree Island, which I'm just returning from, 2021, that Barack Obama, the former president, and his family, his wife, went to Goree Island as well, to slave house, invoked to him and documented by Black enterprise, a woman with a cause, a story that has been told and shared with the world as we look at the story must be told of the survivors over 100 years. 3 survivors that the spirit energy from my royal court of Harlem gave them the gift of the shanty scarf in Tulsa on a wagon in Greenwood. And as the royal group who prepared the procession for the 100 massacre of our ancestors and the survival of the 3 on a horse and buggy in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the spirit energy had me to deliver a gift for the 55 million African descendants of the transatlantic ocean of the slave trade from the Ark of Return of the United Nations, dedicated in 2015, where I did my DNA on Juneteenth. Nothing is by chance. As I stood at the shores of Goree, on Juneteenth, when President Joe Biden proclaimed Juneteenth as a holiday, but also a holy day, from the shores with Sister Zakia born on Juneteenth. First trip to Mother Africa on Juneteenth, 2021. What a marvelous day and what a profound day it was. My life as we prepare, because the royal court asked me, do not spook the horses in Tulsa, when they allowed me to give them the gift of the 6 eyes staring at me when I gave them the scarf from my royal court of Harlem. From the Aponde people from Apondo, from the regent, where I was in stool, and the oldest queen mother of the Shanti kingdom, now an ancestor. The king sent me to his mother, and she blessed me in her palace as the queen mother of North America, and particular Harlem, to bring the family home, to bring the children home, to bring the youth home. 2010, the journey began in a place called Gore with the hip hop generation. This journey is unknown to me, as this journey is incomplete, as I laid my eyes on 300 years of three elders who live to be over 100 years old. And hearing the oldest elder where Nelson Mandela on Juneteenth, when President Joe Biden proclaimed Juneteenth as a holiday, but also a holy day. From the shores with Sister Zakia born on Juneteenth. First trip to Mother Africa on Juneteenth, 2021. What a marvelous day and what a profound day it was to stand before the world symbolically and watch the miracles of the Great One, the Holy One, the Divine One in my life as we prepare, because the royal court asked me, do not spook the horses in Tulsa, when they allowed me to give them the gift of the 6 eyes staring at me, when I gave them the scarf from my royal court of Harlem, from the Aponde people from Apondo, from the Regent, where I was in stool, and the oldest queen mother of the Shanti kingdom, now an ancestor. The king sent me to his mother, and she blessed me in her palace as the queen mother of North America, and particular Harlem, to bring the family home, to bring the children home, to bring the youth home. 2010, the journey began in a place called Gore with the hip hop generation. This journey is unknown to me, as this journey is incomplete, as I laid my eyes on 300 years of three elders who live to be over 100 years old. And hearing the oldest elder, Mama Fletcher, say, I want to go to Africa. It was on no one's radar screen of the gift that I brought to them for the 55 million displaced Africans of the transatlantic ocean of the slave trade, and to give them this gift from my court in Harlem arriving in a storm to Tulsa, 2021. What mystery holds for me in the wind of a people as they glanced and looked at me and stared at me and talked to me. 100, 100, 100, all of them over 100 years old. So that's over 300 eyes glaze and glance at me and winked at me and said, I want to go to Africa. What a day that have been to me, now becoming a reality as preparation is taking forth. But this history has been recorded from around the world. The ancestors are speaking to me as we continue unfold the oneness of a people.
Thank you so very much, Queen Mother. And with that, I'm going to end this shot with a reference to the place in St. Croix, Virgin Island, where there is a symbol of remembrance and hope for all those who are innocent, for all those who are lost, for all those who are hurt, for all those who were left behind, for all those who are not forgotten. Thank you so very much, Queen Mother. Ashe.
Ashe, ashe, ashe.
Ashe.
Well, thank you for your indulgence. For logistical purposes, I'm going to stop the recording now, and then I'm going to begin recording again so that we can keep this in a manageable replay. So I'm going to stop recording now, then I'll start recording.